Back here, 615 Sessions podcast from the DraftKings Sportsbook Studios. I don't even know how to describe Emily Proud and Joe Rexrode other than the odd couple. They're here. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. It's
I think that's taken.
Well, you know, that's probably you're probably right. I'm going to get a lawsuit on my desk now because of any of that. Anyway, Emily Proud of WKRN.
Bobbsey twins.
Bobbsey twins. How dated is that reference? Who are the Bobbsey twins?
Bash siblings. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other things that have been taken.
Oh, listen, nothing is going to distract people the way that this awful goatee on your face is. Anyway, Joe Rexrode of The Athletic and 102.5 The Game, and Emily Proud of WKRN News 2 are here. Hello, friends. How are we?
Good. I think I'm going to put some earbuds in.
Okay. Well,
is that cool?
Yes.
We'll just keep doing the podcast while I do that, okay?
Yeah, well, you're the one who brought it to everybody's attention. Anyway, so Joe and Emily are here. We're going to talk about what the hell's happening with the Titans offseason. We haven't had them on. I think it's been almost 2 months now since the last time you guys were on the podcast. A lot has happened in the interim. But we start in the obvious place because everybody's on a time crunch. Free agency is going to soon be in full effect. It does not officially begin until March, but things are being discussed. There are Marcus Mariota trades being floated to the Colts in the rumor mill from the Las Vegas Raiders. There's all kinds of stuff going on, but I think that with 20 unrestricted free agents, many of them starters, a lot of them, the majority of them on defense, as you kind of look at what this roster was last year, and the shortcomings that were associated with it, what is there one player that stands out to you of the 20? And you know the names: Clowney, Desmond King, Jonnu Smith, Corey Davis, John Brown, on and on and on. Is there any one player that stands out to you as somebody that they absolutely must keep?
I always go back to Jonnu Smith in the way that his athletic ability is just so rare, and what we see from tight ends in that position, and to be able to find a tight end that plays the way that he does with his after the catch ability and his playmaking ability, I think that's something that a lot of teams are going to be desperate for, and a lot of teams don't have necessarily. And I think he's in the top tier of tight ends in the way in which the Titans offense runs. I think he's important to it in that regard too. But when it comes to value, I just think that you can't draft a Jonnu Smith. You can't find a guy like that in free agency. I think also he's going to be incredibly expensive because, as I said, there are a lot of teams that are looking for a guy like that.
What's incredibly
isn't
expensive?
Easy to find.
What's incredibly expensive?
8-9 million a year.
Yeah.
I mean, just you look at some of the tight ends and what they're getting paid, and it's crazy to think. And you look at Jonnu Smith and you're like, oh, he's better than that. He's better than that. And so that's the fear. But I also think that just tight ends in general have been really important to this offense. Obviously, they continue to promote their tight ends position coaches to run the offense. So that also makes me think that it's pretty important. But he's the first guy that I continue to go back to.
Joseph?
See, I flip-flopped on this, and I was where you are, Emily, for most of this year. And now I just barely give the edge to Corey Davis just because I just think it's such a perfect fit. And I just don't know if you look at the rest of basically, if you lose them, you have to go out there and find someone cheaper. I just don't know if like a Marvin Jones or a Josh Reynolds or somebody like that, who you can probably get for crazy enough about half of what Corey Davis might fetch, is going to do what you need done there on the outside. I just think it all fits together perfectly with Brown and Davis on the outside. But I hear you. I think Jonnu is a special talent. I really do. And I think in different schemes, he might have ridiculous numbers. And I think he was on his way to those numbers last year. And maybe that price controls him a little bit. I mean, basically, Lawan's injury price controls him some. But, I mean, teams that do their homework know what he is. I mean, I think it's easily those two, right? And as much as I like Jayon Brown, I mean, I think there's a really good chance he's somewhere else.
No, I got a text 2 days ago from somebody over there basically saying, not basically, but saying that Jayon Brown is overvalued. Like, I think they're going to overhaul. I think they have the opportunity to overhaul the defensive personnel largely. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to let the vast majority of these guys walk. I think Daquan Jones is the most out the door. I think Desmond King and Jayon are probably going to get the most amount of money out there. So that probably excludes them in the Clowney experiment. No, thank you.
Re-sign him.
For what? I mean, why? For him to get banged up again and then look towards the next year's free agency because you only give him a 1-year deal? Like, what? Why are you going to do that to yourself again? There's absolutely no point. I don't understand these people that advocate for Clowney.
I'm joking, but
I know you are. I'm largely talking to the lovely people that listen to this podcast. It's not always that I'm yelling at you.
I know, I understand. But I bet you that both of you have a number that you would still be like, oh, okay. Now, Clowney, it won't be his number and it won't happen, but I'd love to know what that number is for both of you.
5.
4
per year.
Okay,
I
say 3.
Okay.
All right.
4 if you get Ryan. 4 if you get Ryan Kerrigan. Like, I'm good with Clowney and Ryan Kerrigan as the solution to the pass rush because there's a lot of different options out there, and I'll do the mailbag segment at the end of this podcast, and there's a lot of questions in there about Bud Dupree and Carl Lawson and Matt Judon is out there calling the Titans whiners and crybabies, but I'd still take their money. There's a lot of different the benefit of what the Titans have to look forward to is a fair amount of options that can help them right away at the position of greatest need. What their biggest issue is the amount of money that's currently tied up in contracts that they've allotted. Kevin Byard, coming off a bad year, is going to make the second most money on the team next year, $15 million and change under Tannehill's raise, where he's going up to 29.5. Derrick Henry is going to make more money next year. Dennis Kelly going to make more money next year. A lot of these contracts that they backloaded in the second year are now coming to fruition in a time when it's not ideal. The Clowney thing, I think there can be justification, but just who Clowney is, like, he just is very, very aware, and maybe rightfully so, but he's just very aware of how much or how little he has to do to be able to go out there and get another bag. Like, that's the thing that you hear over and over again about this guy. And like, I know it's one of Mike Vrabel's cliches at the end of the year to say we need to go out and find guys that love football. But I think that applies to his boy. I think that's Clowney.
So he does love football, or that he
what
doesn't?
do you mean? Like, he missed
what do I mean?
a year ago?
No, what I mean is I think they missed the mark. I think Mike Vrabel thought that he could be the person to bring out the best in Clowney. And it's entirely possible if the knee doesn't go.
And Beasley.
Yeah, and Beasley too. So let's grade on a curve for Mike Vrabel's estimation of his own powers. But with Clowney, like, there's just this very, very real awareness of how much or how little he has to do to be able to play on Sundays or to go out and get paid again, because he plays the second or third most valuable position in the sport. And I just think it wears on people. Like, I think to have a guy like that in that locker room works actively against the kind of culture that you're telling everybody that you want to build. No? Am I wrong on that?
No, I mean, he also doesn't sniff the quarterback either, which, yes, he plays a valuable position, but he doesn't do it in the way that a lot of teams see value in it. The fact that he went an entire year without sacking the quarterback is something that's definitely going to bring his stock down quite a bit. And I think that, yes, last offseason, what did he originally start demanding? Like $20 million a year? Clearly that continued to go down, and he eventually, settled for what he did. But I think that in this offseason, I don't think he's going anywhere near that. He's got to have some people in his corner who are telling him, dude, get in maybe a good situation, which is what we talked about last year with why Clowney signed for less with Tennessee, is that we thought that maybe he thought that was a good springboard to getting more money in the future. That didn't happen. He got injured. He might try it again because he did have his best season under Mike Vrabel, so that is helping him. Or he could just say, need a new change of scenery. This didn't work out for me, but he's got to realize that his value has gone down tremendously.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. I still think there's probably a sucker GM out there who gives him 12. I don't know, but we'll see. But Buck, to your larger point there, I hear you, and I understand all the love football stuff, and that's fine. You want, like, quote unquote unselfish players, but you know what? These guys also saw Jarrell Casey get shipped the hell out of here after all the years he gave, and that's the NFL. And you know what? If that's fine, but if that's the NFL, then how could you really knock someone for trying to get every last cent they can get out of themselves as well?
No, I'm not knocking Jadeveon. Listen, I feel like I'm almost pro player to a fault sometimes, the way, because I love what Deshaun Watson is wanting to do. I love that Russell Wilson, even as meek as it was on the Dan Patrick show, is saying that he should have a little more say in his circumstances. And those are the top of the position. Those are the superstars. That's not, and Jadeveon Clowney is considered to be one of those players. So I'm not knocking Clowney for wanting to go make as much money as humanly possible. Like, I love the way that Darrelle Revis used to do. He's a straight up mercenary about he was in the business of Darrelle Revis. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that they're, at least with Revis or guys like that, they were going to perform at the highest level and give maximum effort wherever they were once they had gotten the terms that they found most favorable. I don't think that guy's Clowney, but I don't want to dwell on a guy that probably isn't going to be here for that much longer. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Another position, because I've kind of gone back and forth with this, and this is just the kind of, without the combine, we're all just kind of in this pre-free agency lull. Kicker. Gostkowski's an unrestricted free agent too. They waived Sam Sloman. Kicker has been the thing that has been, I mean, I don't know if you could call it more of a pain in their ass than what they've not been able to find at pass rusher, but it's arguably had almost as much of an impact. No, you're shaking your head no at me. What's wrong?
I mean, they had an unbelievably ungodly bad pass rush this year.
No, I know the pass rush.
They went. I mean, come on.
Historic.
Yeah, I'm talking about the year like 2019 when they were 44% on making field goals. Like, it was not good. So then they find Gostkowski. Gostkowski starts the way that he does, finishes strong, was money inside, from 50 yards and out, 7 of 8. Like, he had his worst field goal percentage made, 69% this year of his 15-year career. Do you keep him or do you try to replace him? Like, I think that kicker is not going to be talked about the way that pass rush or wide receiver or any of these things are. But I think it's almost, I mean, it's not as important, but it's right up there in terms of the things that they got to get right because of all of the things that they had pending a kick that was made or missed.
From an exhaustion standpoint, yes, just keep him, please. I don't want to do this again. But I do think, yes, he did finish strong. And I think they learned a little bit more about him too, what works for him in terms of, if you get past 50 yards, then it's more likely to go in than closer. But yeah, just from a standpoint of, oh my gosh, are we going to do this every single year? Also didn't help that you see Suckup win the whole thing with a new team. So that was a nice pain in the side there. But yeah, I'm enjoying the topics on this podcast. We're talking about a guy that's probably not going to be there. Then kicker. Are we going to do backup quarterback next, or just hit all the
throwing shade at my
things?
Are you kidding me?
No, it was just funny. You were naming we've gotten all over the place with this podcast.
You guys gave me
Richard Matthews.
Yes.
You guys gave me 20 minutes to go to do this podcast. You're pissed at me? Out of here.
No, I'm not. Because this is the first time you haven't really told us what we're talking about.
Wait, listen, you guys are professionals. You both are paying attention to what's going on. I figure you can adapt. Maybe I need to do a little better job prepping you, but this is now my fault that my
No, I just had no idea where you were going with this, and you'd built it up, and then it was like kicker.
You know what I'm wondering, guys? What do you think about Mariota? Do you think he's going to make it?
Yes. Joe, you know what I think we should do is we should actually point out the things about each other that bother us the most and call it Love Week, because that was really fun. Are you getting billed for divorce lawyers or marriage counseling? What kind of question is that?
No, expand. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Well, so on the show, Robbie and Rexrode, 102.5.
Oh.
102.5, the game, 6 to 10 a.m. Thank you, Emily. Now, it's Love Week because we're giving away $1,000 gift certificates, okay? And so yes, it's been a little bit so the questions are like, what your worst first day, but one of the days was, what annoys you the most about your significant other? And the funny thing that I found, I know we don't have time to go into this at all, but honestly, my wife and I, we don't have those anymore because we have teenage boys, and so we don't annoy each other. They annoy us.
Yes.
You see?
So you are
you're on the same
united
side.
front against the teenagers.
So, and that is love.
That's
Let me
good.
tell
It's
I heard that question and was like, oh my gosh.
I know. Yeah.
I thought it was love. I thought we were talking about positive things.
You know, it is-
No,
it
call
is-
me and bitch
yeah.
about your significant other.
It's
It's
a fair point.
I think we just got
It's a fair
Emily to say a
criticism.
cuss word unprovoked. This is a triumph. This is a triumph on the podcast today. All I had to do,
Emily's ripping everybody's show.
all I had to do was come up with bad topics, and we got the best out of M.
I know I really did rip both of you guys in like a 10-second span. I apologize. That wasn't where I was headed with that. But no, I had no idea what we were talking about today. And so this is not what I expected.
This is
I like it,
what
though.
this is all there is to talk about. Like I honestly,
It's true.
like
It's true.
I've
February 11th.
I've done the John Robinson offseason checklist. The Vols aren't hiring anybody to be their defensive coordinator. They're just going to pay Kevin Steele $900,000 to sit there and wait to figure it the hell out. I was watching PTI last night, and PTI in the B block is talking about a trade for Marcus Mariota from the Las Vegas Raiders. PTI. You get PTI to talk about Marcus Mariota for 5 years when he was here. Now they're talking about Marcus Mariota. This is the
Well,
content.
they talked about Marcus Mariota. They never talked about Marcus Mariota. It's a whole different guy.
One of them said Mariota, the other one said Mariota, which is exactly where we need to be in all of this. So we'll transition there quickly because I know Joe's got to run. Do you think if he, I mean, seriously, like if he ends up as the quarterback of the Colts, like is that a viable option for them?
I mean, it's an amazing thought. It's an amazing thought. Seriously, please make it happen. I never would have guessed that he would be, but I mean, apparently the Bears are, at least there's some level of
He's
interest.
got a whole market off one game.
It's wild. It's wild. I mean, I really hope it happens. Real quick on Gostkowski, you know, I think it actually is. You're right. It's a thing. But I mean, what's your alternative? I mean, I think you have to resign, don't you? Like, where are you going if you don't?
Go get me the fat kicker again. Thick kicker, 2 C's. I want it.
Who?
Sam Sloman.
Oh, right. Okay.
He was chunky. I shouldn't call him fat. That was mean. He wore 76.
He is a legend. He is a legend. I thought you were talking about Janikowski. I'm like, isn't Janikowski like 52? But okay.
He probably still hit it better than 44% on field goals. Anyway, so we have our time has run its course because Rexrode has many important things to write for theathletic.com. Rexrode, what can the people look forward to that you are wordsmithing that made you so unavailable today?
Well, Dane Brugler has another mock draft.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen the Titans. So I'm going through the edge possibilities of the draft, but also I've been working on a thing on Jerry Stackhouse, which I think is quite interesting. So thanks for letting me promote him. And
well worth the subscription, and go listen to his radio show where he'll just rip on his significant other for a week straight. It sounds like.
You were very nice.
Yeah, no, that was a good save by you. That's a savvy vet. That's somebody who's been married for a long time. Emily Proud of WKRN News 2, all things Nashville sports, along with our friends Corey Curtis and Kayla Anderson. Is there anything in particular that the people should be watching for as a part of their 10 o'clock news coverage, sports coverage on WKRN, or perhaps any kind of specials that are coming up that you are wanting to promote?
Well, I do this thing called Making Us Proud that I feel like more people make fun of me for than actually truly enjoy. But I do like it. I was challenged to try to make a segment that was like branding myself, and nothing terrifies me more than that. I hate doing anything with my name or anything on it. So, but I am enjoying telling some fun, positive stories. And I've got a good one coming up in honor of Black History Month. Eric Moses, who is the new track president at Nashville Superspeedway, is actually the first Black track president in NASCAR history. And as we know, NASCAR has kind of gone through a reckoning over the last year with everything with Bubba Wallace and banning the Confederate flag. And so he had some great perspective about the future of NASCAR.
Making us proud on WKRN News 2. See, Emily's the complete opposite of me. I'd slap my name on everything. In fact, I do try. I literally try to put my name everywhere if I can.
I don't get why it's not called Making Us Fierce. What's your last name?
Strong.
Yeah, that's right.
Emily
Making
Strong.
Us Strong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is that a joke that anybody listening to the
adjective.
podcast is going to get? One person.
I don't even remember where did that come from, by the way. I just remember it on Twitter.
No, I did a story for our national affiliate. We have this national newscast that's based out of Chicago, and it was when all the Titan stuff was going on. And so it wasn't people that know me. So I sent it to them, and they did the super as Emily Strong. It wasn't even like they called me Emily Strong. It wasn't even like they had a different, they spelled proud wrong or something. They just totally got the wrong adjective. I mean, it was just the weirdest
It's a
the
good
weirdest thing,
adjective.
but-
It's a good adjective, right?
I know, but now I should be Emily Strong. Now I'm like, dang it. Now my name seems not as good.
Proud good.
It's what I was born with, so
Content
I'll take
is
it.
always as good for both Emily Proud or Strong and Joe Rexrode, whichever aliases you choose to refer them by. Thank you both for spending at least a little time with my poorly put together podcast and content decisions today here on the 615 sessions. Both of you get the hell out of here. I'm tired of this.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Good seeing you guys.
You too.